Hi everyone, my name is Shannon. Welcome to King Family Farm and welcome to my office/grow room, and this is where I keep my calendar that keeps me sorted out when the season gets busy. So today I thought I would talk about growing zones and frost dates, because I get these questions a lot from new growers. They give me their growing zone that they've figured out and they want to know what annual vegetables they can grow in their garden. And the reality is your growing zone doesn't matter when it comes to growing annual vegetables. So if you want to know what your growing zone is, you can Google it. So you just put in your postal code, zip code, and you put in growing zone, and it's going to pop up. Mostly it'll be a USDA version of the growing zones, and all that is a geographical representation. You're going to get a map with all these pretty colors on it. It's a geographical representation of the coldest temperature that you get in your area in any given year. So, and it's a 10-year average. So I know we had really crazy cold snaps in the south this year, and that's not common, and that'll kind of move the average a little bit, but the average weather is what you're looking for. So here we're in 3B, and our coldest average temperature in the winter that we will get is -40, which is the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit. So, but that has nothing to do with the frost dates for when I'm putting out annual vegetables in my garden. So here we're in zone 3B, but 3B here in northwestern New Brunswick is not at all the same winter weather that you would get in Cold Lake, Alberta, which is also zone 3, or 150 Mile House in BC, which is also zone 3B. And you don't get the same winter experience. Here we get that cold, but it's also very damp. Cold Lake, Alberta doesn't get that super damp weather. It's more of it's a dry cold. I know it doesn't really matter when it's -40, it's just cold, but it's different. And the 150 Mile House, they get like mountain weather, and they will have more snow accumulation than we possibly have, or even maybe Cold Lake. I don't live in those areas, so I know what we have, but I do know that Cold Lake, 150 Mile House, BC, has the same growing zone as me. So what's really important though is when you're planting an annual vegetable garden, you need to know what your first frost date are and your last frost date is. So getting ready to plant in the spring, we want to know, what is our last frost date? What is the last expected date that we're going to get a frost? So what you're going to do is you're going to pause this, and then you're going to Google your postal code, zip code, last frost date. And you need to know that. So for here, that is around May 20th. So here's the 21st. So that's kind of what I aim for. Now that doesn't mean you won't get frost after that, but it's the last expected frost. So you may get frost, so you may have to protect your stuff, but you could pretty much plant what you want at this point and just be prepared to protect it. But it's a date to aim for, and it's an important date because it's going to help you decide at what point you wish to start vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, kale, stuff like that. And we're going to look at that. The next date you're going to need to find, and again, we're going to pause this, and you want to find out your postal code, zip code, and first frost date. And that's going to be around here, September 20th. And then what you can do at that point is figure out how many frost-free days you have to grow an annual vegetable. It's an average. It's not perfect. Sometimes we don't see frost here until well into October. We also have a little microclimate, so here I don't see frost as early as people on the other side of town because they're not on the river. So it's a little subjective, but it's going to give you an average date. And the reason that is important is because when you look at a seed packet like this, this is going to tell you right here how many days. This is 80 days from transplant, because it's a tomato, from transplant that this is going to take to come to maturity. So we only have about 80 good growing days here in northwestern New Brunswick. So I need to push the season a little bit with some early protection to get it out a little bit earlier so that I can get a harvest before the frost kills everything. So, and the other thing you need to know is I said you need to plant a transplant. And on the back of this seed packet, it says to start 5 to 6 weeks. See if we can get it there focused. 5 to 6 weeks before you want to plant it out. So now you've got your last frost date, right? You Googled that, right? You did. Okay. So ours is an average the 20th of May. So we're going to count back 6 weeks from this to when we're going to seed that. Now, I use a great big wall calendar. You can do this on your phone. You can do the tablet. If you like electronic stuff, great, use it. If you've got a small wall calendar, use it. You've got a little agenda, whatever works for you. But you still need to be able to count back your days. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're not starting tomato plants until the 9th of April. It's only February, guys. I mean, it's the middle of February. Well, mid to late February. So we're the 21st today. So here's what we're looking at. Now, if you want a slightly bigger transplant, you could probably push that a little bit. You could go back to starting that at the end of March, and I probably will. But one of the things you're going to run into is if you start your tomatoes too early, you're going to have to keep potting them up. You need more soil, you need more space. And what happens is, what if when you go to plant them out here on the 21st of May, and your 10-day forecast is showing frost for 3 nights that week? You can't plant them out. So if you started them too early in the season, what's going to happen is you're going to have to keep them in their containers longer. And what if you have to keep them in the container for an extra week? You might have to bump those plants up again. And it's frustrating and it's stressful for the plant. Because when you plant them out, they're going to stunt a little bit while they get acclimated and that. So it's really important to just don't start them too early. I know you want to start things. Start onions and leeks, and there's other things you can start. So here's another one. This is a Sugar Rush peach. It's a hot pepper from Baker Creek. Peppers, you want to start about 8 weeks. So they need a little more time than a tomato to get a good sized transplant. 8 to 12 weeks. 12 weeks is a little bit too long for me. I prefer something like 8, 9 weeks. So again, what you're going to do is we're going to take our last frost date here and we're going to count back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, and it's already off the camera here. See if I can just tip this a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to see what you guys are going to see. Okay, so the 26th of March is the 8 weeks, but I might start them the 12th or the 19th, depending on how much space I've got under my grow lights, where I'm at, what I feel like doing, and if I want to deal with having too many peppers and not a lot of space, right? I grow everything indoors under lights. I don't have a greenhouse, so I have to be very careful with how much I put in. So that's why you need to know your last frost in the spring, because you don't want to start these too early. So now, here's a cold weather one, because most people start tomatoes and peppers. Those are the things that they really like. But here's something that's a little bit different. This is kale. This is winter boar hybrid. I purchased these from William Dam Seeds. There's 250 seeds in here, and I'll probably only plant about 30 of them. But you want it on the back, it says 4 to 6 weeks before transplanting outside. Now, kale is a cold weather brassica. It doesn't need the heat to grow. It will grow just fine in the cool weather. So if you're willing to harden off your seedlings and protect them a little bit from the bitter, bitter cold, you can actually plant these about 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost. So here we're looking at a last frost again of May 21st. So we want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's the 23rd of April, and I like to push things just a little bit. So 5, 6, so you could put them out here as early as the 9th of April. And then to do that, I need a transplant. So I have to start these 4 to 6 weeks before I want to put them outside. So if I want to put them outside on the 9th, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're at the 12th of March. You could probably go right back to the 26th of February. So probably next weekend, I'm going to start some kale because I like to push the edge on that a little bit. And I like a nice size transplant. So things like kale, cabbage, they can go out. If you harden them off, you can't just take them from your house and throw them outside. They won't make it. But you need to harden them off. But that's why your dates are so important. And I really like having a calendar like this because I can just visually see. So here, I'm going to go all the way over here. And we're going to start kale, cabbage. And I really like these Frixon pens because if you make a mistake, you can just erase it. So you can use pencil, but I like these pens. So that's why your frost dates are important. I hope this helps you figure out when to start your seedlings, not to rush it. It's not too late. You've got lots of time. I hope that clarifies your frost dates. One of the other things. So if you live in an area that says you have 120 good growing days, which is like so much more than we have, and I'm a little jealous, but I'll take my winters over your heat. You can succession plant things that don't like the heat. So if you take lettuce, you can plant your lettuce before and grow it until it's too hot. And I would say probably by mid-April, if you're in like North Carolina, down that area, growing zone 7, probably by mid-April and into May, it's almost too hot for lettuces. So you should probably be getting those in the ground this week. So you're a little late, but that's okay because you have a really long growing season. And you can start seedlings before your first frost, and you count back. Make sure that you have transplants that can go out before the cooler weather, but you want to be able to get them out there before they're going to get hit with a hard frost that's going to hurt them and set them back. So that's why you need to know your first frost in the fall. That's why us northern growers, we need to know the first frost, because if you're putting out a tomato in like August, you're not going to get a tomato before it freezes. So it's just not worth it. But we can direct sow things like radishes will tolerate the cold. So I hope that helps everybody. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments down below. If you're a southern grower and you have better information than I do on growing in the south, because I just don't. I'm in northwestern New Brunswick, just over the border from Maine. And so we have a very, very different growing season than you would experience in North Carolina, where my sister lives. But she can grow things all winter that I don't have a chance in heck to grow all winter. But so make sure you Google, get your first frost date, your last frost date, count your days, and then you can figure out when to start your seeds. And here it's too early. If you're in North Carolina, you could probably start your peppers now. But don't forget to check your dates and make sure you're not starting them too early for your area. So thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you here next time on the farm.